Is Taiwan's war plan against China now hitting a major missile roadblock? Just as Xi Jinping steps up pressure and Taipei races to close its air defense gaps? Is Taipei's ambitious missile shield stumbling because funding is drying up, turning political infighting at home into a gift for Chinese military planners across the Strait? With Xi preparing his forces for a possible clash, is Taiwan's T-dome air and missile shield now facing serious delays, raising doubts about whether it will be ready in time? Amid rising fears of war with China, Taiwan's T-dome missile shield is now facing a major funding crisis, threatening to slow one of its most important defense projects. Budget infighting in Taipei is reportedly putting the Strongbow missile line at risk, as rival parties argue over how much money should go to new air defenses. The Strongbow missile system was left out of Taiwan's special defense budget package, a decision that has raised eyebrows among military planners and analysts. Taiwan's opposition-controlled legislature had already cut down the size of the proposed defense bill, squeezing the room available for expensive new missile programs. Officials now admit that disputes over funding have left the Strongbow project in limbo, with engineers and the military unsure when or if it will move forward. Reports suggest the program may now be delayed until around 2028, pushing back a system that was supposed to arrive much sooner to plug key gaps. Strongbow is a key pillar of President Li's proposed T-dome missile shield, designed to sit alongside other systems and catch incoming threats at higher altitudes. Analysts warn that long delays could open dangerous holes in Taiwan's layered air defense network, giving Chinese missiles and aircraft more ways to break through. Su Ziyun said, and I quote, "As long as this defensive network remains intact, Beijing would be unable to rapidly seize Taiwan. It would help preserve long-term peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait." Unquote. The T-dome plan combines US-made systems with Taiwan's own missiles into a single network, stitching together radars, launchers, and command centers. The shield is designed to counter everything from combat aircraft and drones to ballistic missiles, giving Taiwan overlapping layers of protection in a crisis. At the top layer are Patriot PAC-3 MSE missiles, built to intercept high-flying ballistic threats heading for key cities and bases. NASAM's air defense systems cover medium altitudes, targeting cruise missiles and aircraft before they can close in on their objectives. The Strongbow anti-ballistic missiles are meant to reinforce this shield, adding extra firepower against fast-moving rockets and missiles. The Sharp Kite 2 drone system provides eyes in the sky, scouting for incoming threats and feeding live data back to air defense units. Integrated sensors and AI-driven command software are planned to tie everything together, helping commanders decide what to shoot at and when. The goal is a layered low, medium and high-altitude defense, so that if one interceptor misses, another system still has a chance to take the target down. Even as the funding dispute raged, Taiwan held 3 days of live-fire air defense drills, showing it is still preparing for the worst-case scenario. The exercises featured Avenger systems, Stinger missiles, and live intercepts of target drones, simulating how units would react to real incoming threats. For the first time, the military tested large-scale nighttime air defense operations, practicing how to fight off missile and drone attacks in the dark. New surveillance drones were used to guide mobile anti-ship missiles during simulated Chinese landings, rehearsing how to hit invasion fleets from the shore. Altogether, the drills reflected Taiwan's growing focus on asymmetric warfare, trying to use missiles, drones and mobility to blunt China's much larger forces. Tensions between China and Taiwan are escalating after Taipei announced its latest investigation into what it described as a China-linked espionage operation targeting individuals and organizations through cyber means. Taiwan has charged 2 businessmen for allegedly assisting a China-linked cyber espionage operation, accusing them of playing a role in a network that sought to compromise sensitive information from targeted individuals. The 2 executives were charged under Taiwan's Personal Data Protection Act and other relevant laws, as authorities continued their investigation into the alleged misuse of personal information and digital accounts. Taiwan's Ministry of Justice Investigation Bureau said the suspects collected and leased line messaging accounts to hackers, who allegedly used them as part of a broader cyber operation. According to Taiwanese investigators, the accounts were allegedly used to target politicians, academics, journalists, and civil society groups in an attempt to gain access to sensitive communications and personal data. Taiwan said the operation involved impersonating international journalists as part of a social engineering campaign designed to build trust and deceive potential victims. Investigators alleged that the suspects posed as reporters seeking interviews or article contributions, using professional-looking approaches to convince targets to engage with them online. Authorities said the ultimate goal of the operation was to deploy malware and compromise victims' computers, allowing attackers to potentially access private information and digital systems. Taiwan alleged that the hackers used fake encrypted communication software disguised as secure messaging applications to infect devices and trick users into installing malicious programs. The malware was reportedly designed to resemble legitimate security-focused communication tools, making it easier to deceive targets into downloading the software without realizing the risks. Taiwan said journalists were among those targeted because many rely on encrypted communication platforms to protect confidential sources, making their accounts valuable targets for cyber operations. Taiwan's Investigation Bureau said the suspects operated a firm that supplied line accounts to Chinese operators, allegedly providing the digital resources needed to carry out the hacking campaign. The company was accused of collecting messaging accounts registered with Taiwanese mobile phone numbers, which investigators said were later used in the alleged cyber activities. Authorities said these accounts were rented to Xiamen Empress Information Technology for around 1,100 yuan each, creating a channel through which the accounts could allegedly reach Chinese-linked operators. Taiwan claims the Chinese company involved in the operation has links to the Communist Party cyber forces, though Beijing has not accepted these allegations. China has repeatedly denied conducting cyber espionage operations against foreign governments, organizations, or civil society groups, rejecting accusations that it sponsors such activities. Taipei's latest legal action comes as Taiwan continues to warn about potential war and growing digital threats from Beijing, including alleged cyber attacks aimed at weakening the island's security and democratic institutions. Taiwan is warning global powers that China's recent military actions could fundamentally change the status quo in the Indo-Pacific. Taipei accused Beijing of deliberately carrying out pressure tactics in the Taiwan Strait to intimidate the self-governed island. A senior Taiwan official, on July 8, claimed China is deliberately pushing the limits with the United States and other allied nations. However, China, on July 7, insisted its Pacific missile launch was nothing more than a routine military training exercise.
If an authoritarian country does not change the status quo through a one-off military action, but instead advances a little bit each day, increasing Coast Guard activity today, expanding military exercises tomorrow, conducting so-called law enforcement inspections of merchant vessels the day after, and then, in the next step, interfering with our undersea cables, the international shipping order or information systems, then we have to ask from which day can we say that the status quo has already been changed. This is the greatest danger of the gray zone tactics. Each individual action may not appear to trigger an international crisis. With each increase in pressure, we may judge that it still does not constitute war. But when a series of actions accumulate, it may create an entirely new status quo. Shipping routes may begin to be altered, while insurers and investors recalculate risks and frontline law enforcement personnel come under greater pressure. And the international community, through repeated judgments that each incident still falls short of a crisis, gradually becomes accustomed to things that should never have been regarded as normal in the first place. In the end, we may suddenly discover that no decisive war ever occurred on any particular day, yet the original status quo no longer exists.
This test launch was a routine military training activity conducted by the Chinese Armed Forces and was not directed at any specific country or target. We provided advance notification to the Solomon Islands and other nations in the South Pacific region, as well as to other relevant countries. The activity was in accordance with international law and international practice. I wish to emphasize that China is committed to a path of peaceful development and a nuclear strategy of self-defense, and consistently maintains its nuclear forces at the minimum level required for national security. There is no need for relevant countries to overinterpret this. Diaoyudao and its affiliated islands are China's inherent territory. The operations of Chinese scientific research vessels in the waters surrounding the islands fall within the scope of China's sovereign rights. They are legitimate, lawful, and beyond reproach. China firmly opposes Japan's interference with these legitimate operations and has lodged solemn representations with the Japanese side.